This radio program is PG-13. Parents strongly caution some material may be inappropriate for children under the age of 13.
The following program is sponsored by Michael W. Smith. The views expressed on the following program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership.
Phoenix, Arizona. Brother Mike back on the radio. Welcome to HardcoreChristianity.com. Thanks for tuning into the program. Today's Bible study. Good morning, molesters. Wow, I got a shocking one for you today. This you're not going to believe. Well, on the second thought, you will. You're listening to this program. I'll do my announcements and we get right to the Bible study. It is a shocker. This is Brother Mike. I'm the professional counselor at the Arizona Deliverance Center. We're downtown on 15th Avenue. We're just south of Osborne Road. It's the red brick building, folks. HardcoreChristianity.com is the website. You'll notice on the website we have 2 live services every week, Thursday and Friday nights, 7 o'clock. We got 3 Zooms every week, Monday night for the ladies at 6:30, Wednesday and Saturday for everybody at 6 o'clock. We have a monthly children's deliverance and healing service. For preteens, we have a women's seminar coming up on October 19th. I hope you won't miss it. We've got seminars and all kinds of other ministry services. I have a podcast every Sunday morning at 9 o'clock on twitch.tv. Send me an email, Mike at hardcorechristianity.com. I'll send you all the information to all the ministries, the codes, the passwords, the whole thing. No problemo. Good morning, molesters. Morning Star Ministries. Rick Joyner. It's their turn now. Let me give you a little background on it real quick. Many, many, many years ago, back in the early 90s, the prophetic movement was birthed at a church in Toronto, Canada. This movement spread practically around the world. It spread all over America. And what had happened was a revival broke out at this church in Toronto. And the Holy Spirit was doing a lot of wonderful things. But at the same time, familiar spirits attacked the church. And there was a revival, but it was mixed. And there were all kinds of familiar spirit things going on. For example, you'd walk into the church and somebody would be in the corner barking. Somebody else would be doing something else weird, rolling around the floor. There was all kinds of strange, demonic, spiritual manifestations mixed in with the good stuff, the preaching and the prayers and some of the healings and so on. Well, anyway, that mixed bag approach spread all over the United States. It's still here today. It's bigger than ever. Well, several years ago, moved forward with me a few years, and a guy named Todd Bentley rose to the top of the prophetic movement, and he was holding a revival in Lakeland, Florida, and it was huge. There was all kinds of people going to this revival. A lot of good things were happening, but again, it was a mixed environment. It was mixed. You had the Holy Spirit manifestations, and you had familiar spirit manifestations. Okay? Well, they held a special meeting during that revival. 95% of the top prophetic ministers, apostles, seers, and prophets from around the United States went to Lakeland, Florida, and coronated Todd Bentley as the leader of the movement and the head apostle of the prophetics. 95% of the leaders were there. These were not people that were just sitting in the congregation. These were the leaders of the movement. They were all there. They anointed him as the apostle of the movement. A few weeks later, he left his wife and 3 kids and ran off with his girlfriend. Okay, then later on, he got rehabilitated by Morning Star Ministries and Rick Joyner. Todd Bentley's currently in the ministry today. 2 years ago, what was it? 2 years ago, he had another major sex scandal broke out in the ministry. It was so embarrassing, it's unbelievable. But the point I'm trying to make overall is simply this. These ministers in the prophetic movement, they're good people, most of them. They love God, most of them. But the movement is infected with familiar spirits. God tried to warn them about that at Lakeland, They didn't heed the warning. Well, fast forward to 2020, and Donald Trump is running for president again, and probably 15 to 20 prophetics who were prophets went on record in public saying that Donald Trump was going to win the election and become president again. And of course, he lost. Two of the prophets claimed that he was going to be reinstated into the office, and Biden was going to be removed during his term. Of course, that never happened either. 2 times God tried to tell these prophetics in love, look, you're barking up the wrong tree. You're being deceived. You're listening to familiar spirits. It's not real. Well, guess what happened? This is God's third attempt to get in touch with the prophetic movement, to warn them that they are infected with familiar spirits. He loves them and wants them healed. Morning Star Ministry, Rick Joyner, who rehabilitated Todd Bentley, is now being sued, and the organization apparently has been loaded with sex perverts molesting children. A 40-page lawsuit just came out alleging multiple cover-ups, gross negligence, and incidences of sexual abuse in the ministry. 7 people have been named as defendants, and it's literally incredible. Reading the indictment was shocking. The leader of the movement at Morning Star Ministries, Chris Reed was his name, just resigned last Monday, citing, among other things, the sexual abuse of minors. He apparently was involved in it, and he resigned when he got caught. In addition, young women, young girls, underage, were preyed upon in the ministry for sex by some people on the ministry team. The family of one of the 4 teenage boys, alleging that they were molested when they were younger, underage. They had made a list of the volunteers who had sexually abused them. They're also claiming in the indictments that the church knew about it, Joyner knew about it, everybody knew about it, and covered it up, which is exactly what happened when Rick Joyner rehabilitated Todd Bentley when he ran off with his girlfriend and left his wife and 3 kids. One of the ministers at Morningside, Eric Douglas Lee, was disseminating porn to boys under 18. He also sexually molested several of them. This is going on in front of the church, in front of everybody. The inner circle knew about it. And this is exactly what happened with Todd Bentley years ago at Lakeland. This is exactly what happened. He was having an affair with his secretary. And then right in the middle of the revival, he picked up and ran off and left his wife and kids. Then Joyner supposedly rehabilitated him. He later on had another sex scandal in his ministry. And come to find out, Morning Star is also loaded with sex perverts. What's the moral of this story? Anybody know? You've got homosexuality and adultery, heterosexual adultery, running amok at Morning Star. How can that be? How can that even happen? Well, the way it works is exactly the way I've been explaining it on this radio program for the last 20 years. When someone goes into the ministry in the United States, They are not required to go through deliverance. And so they engage in what I call carryover. They carry their demons over from their sinful life into their Christian life, and they don't know it. The demons will usually go dormant and hide, and then manifest later when they have an opportunity to shipwreck, to use Paul's term, shipwreck their ministry, which is exactly what happens to all these ministers, Jimmy Swaggart, Jim Baker, and now Rick Joyner. The demons go dormant, they hide there, they pretend they're gone. They're not. They're hiding, and then they manifest later. Todd Bentley's gotten caught twice with these demons, lust demons manifesting. Morning Star Ministries, loaded with molesters, has now been hit with these demons. Before anyone goes into the ministry, if you're thinking about going into the ministry, please call me, 602-636-5800. You need to go through deliverance before you get into the ministry. You cannot become a pastor, an evangelist, a preacher, teacher, healer. You cannot do that before going through deliverance. You cannot minister in that condition where your demons are hiding in your body or your brain. They went dormant, because they're going to manifest later, and they're going to cause a monumental scandal, like they did with the Mormons, like they did with the Boy Scouts, like they did with the Southern Baptists, like they did with Hillsong. All these ministries have had major league problems with egregious sin, horrible sin. And the reason it's happening, the root cause of it, is the fact that they never went through deliverance before they entered the ministry. Nobody is supposed to go to Bible college or seminary who has dormant demons. If you used to be a hardcore sinner and you got born again and filled with the Spirit, that's great news, and that's an illustration of what God does to a person in their spirit man. But the demons aren't in the spirit man, they're in the body, hiding in the brain, trying to cause a physical or a mental illness. If you're in the ministry, they go dormant and wait for an opportune time to manifest, to destroy your life and your ministry. 602-636-5800. Please call for a prayer and counseling appointment today. You can be delivered. Do not go into the ministry under any circumstances unless you have gone through deliverance and you got rid of your demons. You cannot do that, and you cannot afford to hurt any other people like these falling ministers are doing. See you next time.
The views expressed on this program are those of the host and not necessarily those of staff, management, or ownership. This program was sponsored by Michael W. Smith.